Law 48. Assumed formlessness is the culmination of all the laws of power. It is about mastering the ability to adapt, transform, and remain fluid in the face of any situation. At its core, this law teaches that rigidity leads to vulnerability, while flexibility and unpredictability are your greatest assets. To achieve true power, you must become like water, ever-changing and formless, able to flow around obstacles and seep into every crack, while never being pinned down or confined by the expectations of others. To assume formlessness means to let go of any fixed identity, plan, or position that can be targeted, manipulated, or constrained by others. When you are too defined or predictable, people can find ways to oppose or undermine you. They can study your habits, learn your strategies, and anticipate your next move. But when you remain formless, you become elusive, impossible to categorize or predict. Your flexibility makes you an ever-evolving force, one that cannot be easily outmaneuvered. Formlessness requires a complete detachment from ego and pride. Often, we cling to our identities, our titles, accomplishments, and reputations, thinking that they provide us with strength. But in doing so, we become anchored to these identities, making us predictable and therefore vulnerable. By remaining fluid, you allow yourself to adapt to changing circumstances, to shift when the environment demands it, and to avoid being stuck in positions that could eventually turn against you. In the world of power, people often seek to impose definitions and boundaries upon you. They want to box you in, forcing you to conform to a certain role, perception, or behavior that benefits them. When you assume formlessness, you resist this. You maintain the ability to reinvent yourself, to change your direction, and to surprise others. This not only keeps you in control, but also keeps others off balance. Those who attempt to define or limit you find themselves grappling with a presence that they cannot fully grasp, much less contain. Another key element of formlessness is a strategic abandonment of plans. While planning is essential, you must avoid becoming overly attached to a specific path. The world is unpredictable, and situations can change in an instant. If you are too rigid in your plans, you may find yourself unprepared for sudden shifts in the landscape. By remaining formless, you can pivot when necessary, turning challenges into opportunities. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't plan. Rather, you should be ready to abandon any plan at a moment's notice and shift your strategy as needed. Moreover, assuming formlessness allows you to manipulate perceptions. If people can't predict or define you, they can't know your true intentions or next move. This creates an aura of mystery around you, which can be a powerful tool in itself. Others will constantly wonder what you are thinking or planning, and in that uncertainty, they become hesitant, unsure how to approach or counter you. By never letting anyone pin you down to a single identity or path, you keep them in a state of confusion, giving you the upper hand. Formlessness also applies to the way you deal with opponents. If you approach every conflict with the same strategy, you become easy to defeat over time. Those who are formless are able to switch tactics, attack from unexpected angles, or withdraw entirely when the situation requires it. In warfare, this is the principle of guerrilla tactics. Striking when your opponent least expects it, then disappearing before they can retaliate. In social or professional arenas, formlessness means knowing when to step back, when to blend in, and when to strike with precision, all while never showing your hand. The art of formlessness also requires that you blend in when necessary. Sometimes the most effective way to wield power is by becoming invisible, hiding your true intentions until the moment is right. In certain situations, appearing too assertive or too ambitious can provoke opposition or resistance. But when you blend in, when you appear harmless or inconspicuous, you can move freely unnoticed until you are in the perfect position to act. This kind of stealth power is often more effective than overt displays of dominance because it allows you to avoid drawing unnecessary attention or hostility. Formlessness does not mean weakness or passivity. On the contrary, it is about maintaining an underlying strength and purpose that is adaptable to any situation. Think of it like martial arts. The ability to flow with your opponent's movements rather than resisting them, using their energy against them, and being fluid in your response. By staying flexible and undefined, you make it impossible for others to defeat you because they can never truly understand what they are up against. Furthermore, assuming formlessness is a way to control your environment. By shaping yourself to the needs of the moment, you can influence the outcome of events without directly confronting opposition. In many cases, direct confrontation only hardens resistance, but by remaining fluid and indirect, you can subtly guide situations to your advantage. When people don't see you as a threat, they are less likely to oppose you, allowing you to work behind the scenes, shifting the power dynamics without drawing attention. In personal relationships, formlessness allows you to adapt to the needs and desires of others while maintaining your own objectives. Rather than insisting on one way of doing things or imposing your will, you learn to be flexible, molding yourself to fit the situation at hand. This creates an image of cooperation and understanding, even as you subtly steer the relationship in the direction you want. It's the art of influence through adaptability rather than force. Ultimately, Law 48. Assumed formlessness is about mastering the ability to adapt, to let go of rigid identities, and to remain flexible in the face of any challenge. Those who assume formlessness never let themselves be pinned down by others' expectations or perceptions. They flow with the current, never fighting against it, and in doing so, they maintain an unassailable position of power. To be formless is to be invincible, always shifting, always adapting, and always in control.